Todd Westby might just have a hand in shaping the future. The CEO of vending machine maker 3 Square Market literally opening doors with automation that's turning some workers into high-tech machines of sorts. This is a lot more than just some sort of novelty to you.
It is. It's reality. With all of the interest we've seen in it, I can tell this is definitely the future.
By injecting a rice-sized microchip into a willing employee's hand, all kinds of data can be programmed into them, from driver's licenses and medical ID cards to logging onto computers.
You have to hold it up to something such as this.
Even purchasing snacks in the company break room. More than 50 employees have volunteered. How much did that hurt?
Didn't really hurt a lot.
A third holding off for now.
It kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Some experts suggest caution. Among the concerns, ID theft, health, and whether the chips can be tracked by GPS.
Most people don't really understand how this technology works, what data is collected, how it's stored, or who might be able to get access to it legally or illegally.
3 Square says their employees cannot be tracked by satellite. Melissa Timmons was skeptical, but is now chipped.
Yeah, right now it's only to buy a candy bar and get in our building, but there's a lot more that's going to be coming with it.
Chips off the new block.
I'll choose to pay with my hand here.
Cool and technology once again hand in hand. Ron Mott, NBC News, River Falls, Wisconsin.
Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Well, first off, by saying, Call Allah Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostle and elders of Great Millstone, which I learned this truth from. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Peace and salutations to brothers and sisters listening and learning with truth and sincerity. Peace and salutations to the brothers pushing this truth with truth and sincerity. And shalom to the Israelite foreigners, also known as speckled bird, who come in the light of these other nations, but are in the fold of the nation of Israel. Just reading some headlines, and basically it was on my spirit to just do a lesson, and I don't really have a title yet, but it's basically we're coming into, some crazy times, and prophecy is, speaking for itself. So I just wanted to bring a couple scriptures out that, match up with what I was, reading. And it says, here we go again. Omorion is pushing the U.S. into a soft lockdown. I do not see a scenario for any kind of shutdown. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio declared this week as parts of New York were in fact shutting down all around him. According to MSN News, Broadway canceled show after show. Restaurants closed their kitchens. De Blasio's successor, Eric Adams, who would take office January 1st, nixed his inauguration gala. There has been no March 2020 style universal shutdown, but New York is not back anymore, baby. For Brent Young, who runs a butcher shop and 2 restaurants in Brooklyn, it began last week when one by one staff members tested positive, and more than likely due to the mandates, they were pressured into taking that juice. And that's really it's a well planned out scheme, because they issued out the mandates while people were working, and the consequences was unpaid leave. So that's another way to shorten up staff. And then people who are already out of work, from the previous years before, at the start of this thing, the mandates kind of hinder them from gaining, employment, whatever state they live in, how aggressive they're, exercising these protocols and things like that. But it's also preventing people from gaining employment because they're not willing to, risk their health, in the long run, for a short-term, opportunity. And, and the people who do fold under, fold under pressure and do get it, they're ultimately, getting, unfortunate getting ill and having to call out of work. So, it's another form of shortening staff, because once this quote unquote soft lockdown happens, that's going to really, it's going to crush the legs of a lot of businesses, and a lot of businesses are, going to eventually have to shut down themselves, because not only once these people start, going and getting the juice, they also have to get boosters, and due to adverse reactions, you don't know, these people think they're fine one day, and then the next, they're calling out of work, and eventually, in the hospital. And that's also how they're manipulating their numbers, because a lot of these people who succumb to, this peak in the outbreak, they're also the ones who are double jabbed up, even triple jabbed up. So this lockdown is this quote unquote soft lockdown is really gonna affect the economy in a real way, because not only is it small businesses, but it's also these bigger corporations and bigger businesses are acting on these protocols and guidelines, and a lot of their staff members are getting let go by the hundreds, even the thousands. So once this happens and everybody's made to stay home, you can only imagine the type of turmoil that's going to do to the business. But reading on. At this point, it's not worth trying to stay open, Young says, because the anxiety's so high. No one's wanting to eat. For most jab people, a morion will be mild, but even a mild cold sufficiently widespread can disrupt the city. According to the Atlantic, a voluntary suspension of activity, a soft lockdown, essentially will help dampen the transmission of the This happened all over the country in spring 2020, when people began staying at home before official stay-at-home orders came down, says Saad Amir, an epidemiologist at Yale and a co-author of a paper that studied the phenomenon using anonymized cell phone data. It's intuitive, really. Skip on down. So yeah, they're basically, trying to come off as, they're back in the loop of, that flatten the curve rhetoric that they've been given. But let me just grab a scripture so, people understand. Here's Isaiah 24:10. The city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up, that no man may come in. And that's basically what this is preluding to, this soft lockdown, rather. Every house, everyone's going to go back into their houses. So essentially these businesses are going to fall. A lot of these small mom and pop businesses are going to go, they're, either going to go bankrupt and close down, or just simply close down, just due to short staff and things like that. So, can you go in there, baby? Excuse me, I'm doing something. Slovakia. There's a crying for wine in the streets, and that wine is, basically the old ways of America. How America used to be, just a carefree, party spirit that people have when anything is a reason to party, or you work your job all week, and then Friday, Saturday come, and you party those 2 days, maybe even Sunday. Some people you know, the progress of this world, you know, it's even that carefree party lifestyle has even pushed people, you know, to you know, even go beyond their limits sometimes. So some people party, you know, 3 days out the weekend and then still go to work, and just so they can keep doing it. You know, it's that thrill. It's just that bullshit that, you know, excuse my language, but it's just that bull that, you know, Esau has fed not only our people primarily, but, you know, just the whole world. The whole world is like that. You know, you even got clubs in the daytime. So, you know, these people, and since this pandemic, you know, people have been, you know, any opportunity to go out and do something, you know, people have been doing that. So you can only imagine, you know, once we go into this next little phase of the lockdown, you know, and all these events and sports, and, you know, it's basically just returning back to how it was when it first started, because now it's starting to affect the sports area. You know, a lot of these players, they succumbing to the illnesses and things like that. So a lot of the players are, you know, they're out of I guess you say out of work, and you know, eventually it's gonna go back to, you know, how it was when this whole thing first started. But this time around, you know, it's gonna get more aggressive. The laws are they've been changing these laws, you know, in the midst of letting everybody think that everything is, you know, eventually gonna go back to normal and things like that. But little do they, you know, people know that they're just signing in a lot of old laws, but a lot of new laws too, to where you're eventually you'll become an enemy, you know, if you don't really cooperate with what's going on, you know, in the world, you know, as far as getting, you know, your proof of jabs and shit like that. You know, eventually it's coming to the corona, you know, and they're even bringing up, and when I say they're bringing out old laws, you know, they're bringing out laws from, you know, when Obama was in office. You know, little people don't even know, you know, he was signing like basically like in Islamic style laws, you know, into the Congress. It's something called the Sharia law, you know, where that's death by beheading, you know, and that's prophecy as well, you know. Revelation, I believe it's 20, you know. And I saw the thrones of people, you know, with their heads cut off, you know, roughly paraphrasing. But, you know, all this is prophecy. All these things are being prepared, you know, and it's ultimately through the Most High's will, you know, because this is his thing that he's doing. You know, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, they're working their work, you know, and everything's coming into play. But, you know, continuing on, there is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. The mirth is, you know, like the joy. You know, a lot of these people, like, just this last year, you know, and I kind of been happy about it, because, like, you still see it, but, you know, just this whole year, you know, all these, you know, so-called man-made holidays and stuff like that, a lot of people haven't really been even in the spirit to really celebrate it, because you can't do much. You can't have gatherings. You can't, you know, be around your loved ones, rather. So a lot of these people, you know, that joy for these pagan-ass holidays, you know, it's not, they're fully committed, but, you know, the joy in it is not there, because the old, you know, that old wine they was drinking on, you know, as I just read, you know, it's not there. Like, it's not, they're not really getting the full experience of, you know, how they used to get these that feeling, you know, when previously to this, you know, whole pandemic happening, you know, before it was more they had more tenacity, you know, so to speak. You know, it'd be a lot of people, or, you know, people like to do everything extravagant or extra, you know. But, you know, as we keep moving forward, not only with Yahweh's plan, but these elites plan, you know, they're slowly chipping away at that old style of living, you know, and it's becoming grievous to the people. So you know, ultimately that joy is being, you know, taken away, you know, around these times, you know, or around these man-made holidays, because they're not as I guess you say free will to do what they want. But moving on. But it's really, you know, the joy of the world is really gonna be gone, you know, once these draconian laws come into play, and, you know, penalty by death, you know, for, you know, denying them MOTV, you know, which we've recently seen has been somewhat revealed, you know, but once it comes compulsory, that word compulsory, you know, goes into mandatory, you know, once it becomes, you know, mandated, you know, those new laws and old laws that they've been signing into Congress are going to come into play. But continuing on, and the city is left desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction. Yeah, because, you know, ultimately once all this stuff shuts down, you already have a supply chain shutting down, you got inflation, you already have these other countries that have been going into lockdowns. Now U.S. is talking to lockdowns, and really ultimately all that's doing is breaking out all aspects and areas of how this nation and how this country moves. So once that's halted and that's stopped for you know, a period of time, you know, people are gonna I mean, just look at the world today, you know, look how people acted about toilet paper, you know, during the first part of this thing, you know, so you can only imagine food. And you know, if you know anything about people being hungry and not being able to feed their cravings, you know, they turn into they call it being hangry, you know, hungry and angry at the same, you know, just craziness. You know, people get attitudes and act crazy. So how much more, you know, when someone has to feed their family? And yeah, it's gonna get wild. It's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be a true it's gonna truly just be some crazy, you know, stuff to really be a part of, you know. So yeah, continuing on. This is going into the wicked elites. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily, and that word privily goes into secretly. So there's a secret plan that they're already, you know, it's just, this whole thing is disguised as, you know, a national health emergency, but it's a secret plan, you know, to come against the children of Israel, and ultimately to put us under subjugation and under what they think they're gonna do is you know, constant, or I guess you say eternal enslavement. But you know, we all know that that's not gonna happen. You know, the Heavenly Father Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh, and His Son Yahweh Shai are going to you know, ultimately just, you know, break that whole NWO system, you know, into pieces. You know, just basically disrupt the plans of their... Okay, I'm doing something. Salakia. Man. Salakia. They encourage themselves in an evil matter, and this evil matter being, you know, the NWO agenda, you know, ultimately trying to give us that charagma. They commune of laying snares privily, secretly, and that's through this this guise of the this national health emergency. They say, "Who shall see them?" Yeah, because they really think like the Most High, is not paying attention to them because they're moving forward. But little do they know, that the Most High is making them do this. He does the evil and the good. He governs our everyday lives. He's already had our lives planned out, from the beginning, before we even came here. So, these people are very proud and very boastful in their ignorance. So like I said, skip on down to 7. But Yahweh shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly they shall be wounded. And that arrow is the elect. It's talking about the elect men. And just reading this, they encourage themselves in an evil manner that they may commune of laying snares privily. This made me think of this headline that I was reading a little bit earlier too, and it says Canada secretly tracked 33, and that's funny how they use that word 33. Anybody who's into that Illuminati stuff, then you already know. Canada secretly tracked 33 million phones during lockdown report. And, that's part of that laying the snares and secretly communing, because they're ultimately tracking us and watching our every movement, but that's all going to come into one, instead of doing it like this, it's all going to come into that one thing, that we talking about, the Charagma. Canada's federal government admitted to secretly surveilling its population's movements during the lockdown by tracking 33 million phones. The Public Health Agency of Canada clandestinely tracked the devices to assess the public's responsiveness during lockdown measures. The agency acknowledged last week, according to Blacklock's reporter, which first reported the disclosure. Canada's entire population totals 38 million, so that means they were just shy of 5 million Canadians, who they were surveilling. God damn.